How effective are you as a leader? What is it costing you by not being an effective leader? What we find is that people who are more effective as leaders are not only more influential, but they have greater control over their outcomes. Those outcomes financially, over leadership skills, management skills, and business outcomes as well. Today we're talking about the 7 habits of highly effective leaders. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the A Players podcast, the place where we hone your skills by interviewing leaders in their field of how they achieve success as an A player. Not only that, but we also have the 100K Club, where they give the step-by-step what it takes for them to actually achieve 100K from what they've been doing in their field. So I'm your host, Lewis Haydon. I work with very high income earners, and I'm here to share with you the tips and the tricks and the hacks, even though I don't like that word hacks, but it will get you there faster, of what you can do to start achieving high levels of success in what you do. So today we're talking about leadership, the 7 habits of highly effective leaders. What does that mean? Well, you may have heard that term before, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a book by Stephen Covey. Now, from the A Players podcast, we talk about context. How do we take content and apply it to the context of how you become an A player in your field and increase your income? So, we're going to take the principles from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the content, and start to show you how you can apply it in increasing your income and becoming a leader in your field. So what we do to save time, and also for copyright as well, because you can go out there and you can Google 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and you'll see a lot of different models that have come from the book. But this is 2024. We've got our mate ChatGPT that we can just go and ask for the stuff, right? And you can do that with anything. It really annoys me when people out there right now are trying to make it look like they're the original creators of this stuff. Look, ladies and gents, if you're creating content, it's not rocket science. It's there. AI is there to help you. The people that will get left behind are people that can't use the AI to create content to deliver context. So I've got 20 years experience in growing businesses. I've worked as a business coach. I'm an investor. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a lot of businesses. The wisdom that I've got from that can help people reach from their business to go from 1 million to 10 million to 100 million. Okay. So I've got the wisdom of doing that, where a lot of people that haven't got that 20 years experience are trying to just pretend that they've got it by using ChatGPT and giving a shitload of value when it's already all there. Yeah, information's never been more available than ever. So here's ChatGPT's take on it, of how highly effective people is put into the leadership model. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Let's talk through the steps one by one, and then I'll apply that into a leadership role, into an A player role, of how you can become a more effective leader. So number 1, be proactive. Leaders take initiative and responsibility for their actions and decisions. They focus on what they can influence rather than reacting to external forces. So what does that mean for you guys? Look, the opposite to being proactive is to be reactive. That means that things don't happen because of you. They happen to you. Yeah, we want to make sure that everything is on purpose, that the things that we are putting out there are purposefully done to get us an outcome. Because if we're just expecting an outcome to happen, that's luck, yeah? You see this in people that play the lottery. They gamble the money, even though it's a small amount of money, for a big return. But the chances of it actually happening, regardless of you've got to be in it to win it, it's bullshit. Wouldn't you rather have something that you can grasp, something that you can take control of, so you can actually determine the outcome rather than leave it to luck? The chances of that, it's not down to chance, it's down to the ability for you to actually increase the volume of what you do. Yeah, increase the volume of, let's say, if you was in a sales role, the amount of calls that you make. You can't always control that person's decision-making process, or you can become more influential, more persuasive, better at sales. But there's still something there that you can't mind control that person. But what you can control is the volume of what you do it as. So if this wasn't a sales role, let's say a more operational role, then you can control your level of learning. This is why I always slam crypto. Because again, right, you've got more chance of winning with it and you can follow the market and be very smart about it. But there's also always a likelihood that it's not in your control. So to be proactive around things is to go, okay, when the ocean is nice and smooth, I'm going to have a boat on there. I'm going to sail that ocean. Yeah, put the sails up and sail that ocean. But it's the true sailors that when that ocean starts to get really rough, stormy, and all the winds and the waves start coming in, that boat's going to go all over the place unless you're prepared. So preparation is key. Be proactive. What I want to do is that no matter what the ocean is doing, whether it's tidal waves or if it's a nice smooth sea, I want to be able to make sure that I can actually row my own boat in the direction I want to go, not just end up wherever the waves take me. Yeah, be proactive. And that takes us on to number 2. Begin with the end in mind. Effective leaders have a clear vision of their goals and what they want to achieve. This habit involves setting long-term goals and having a mission that guides all actions. So guys, if you are on YouTube right now, you can see that I'm sharing the screen. In the future, I will be giving more visuals and more, more diagrams around scientific approaches and great books that are going to help you become an A player and reach that 100K club as well. So to engage in this, it's great if you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel and check that out as well. I get it, there's a lot of people that are listening on podcasts right now, so I will also explain it in as much detail as I can. So, what does it mean to begin with the end in mind? Well, if you go back to some of my previous podcasts, you will hear me talk about direction of travel. What does direction of travel mean? Well, for those that are the long-term listeners, it's about, for the aren't the long-term listeners, it is about understanding where you want to head. Stephen Covey calls this start with the end in mind. What he's saying here is always don't do the plan moving forward. Work back from the goal that you want to achieve. So for this goal, let's say it is to achieve 100K. Well, break it down backwards from the day that you're achieving 100K. So here's a bit of NLP for you, okay? Imagine yourself of being on that day where you've just made 100 grand a year and you've just received that ticking over the line of 100 grand. What does that day look like? What are you going to do to celebrate? What sort of feelings are you going to have come up? What sort of things are you going to say to yourself? What about the internal dialogue? Yeah? So it's not about making the 100 grand. It's about what you're going to do with the 100 grand. And let me tell you, when you go to 100 grand, does it really matter that much as well? You probably want to achieve 1 million then. Yeah? That's where we need to start talking more one-to-one. When you achieve that 100 grand, what does it mean to you though? Because 100 grand for me, what it did mean for me was that is just a number of, when I achieve that, I know that I have become the person that is capable of it. I've had to do a lot of shit to add a lot of value to people's lives to achieve that number. Yeah. And then to 250,000, then 500,000, then 1 million. It's about not just hitting that figure, it's about what it took to get there. And for me, that's where the achievement is. Because people always flex about how they rent a Lamborghini or they take loads of nice pictures on holidays, making it look like it's their life. But the real respect for people that are wealthy comes from the amount of hard work that you put in. Yeah? And that's what's key here, is that you need to recognize that there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and faking it till you make it, there's some element to that as well, that you have got to start to just take the first steps forward. But faking it on social media, sorry, it's not going to get you anywhere, okay? So start with the end in mind. What does it actually mean to you? And break it down backwards. That's what it means here to be a highly effective leader. If you're going to use that in leadership, how often could you use that with your team? Or, see, leadership can mean a few different things, right? What does being a leader mean, okay? In management, it means being able to lead a team. Yeah. Does it mean that you have to be doing the shit? There's an argument around it. Okay. You see, great leadership is about helping A players become great. If you think about this in a football game or soccer, if you're listening around the world, if you think this in a soccer game, then the A players on the pitch are the footballers, but the leader is either the team captain or the managers as well. They are all leading the team. So you don't see the manager running onto the pitch and start trying to get the ball. Yeah. Their position is to be a great manager, a great coach. So you can be a leader as well. It doesn't mean you have to be doing the work. It just means you have to be helping people get what they want and achieve what they want. Does that apply in sales? Of course it does as well. Somebody needs to have the confidence in you that you can be a good leader to help lead them to the outcome that they want.
Thank you for listening to the podcast so far. A quick reminder that the iPlayers podcast and community remains free. The reason we do this podcast is because I believe that a great question to ask is, what advice would you give your younger self? For me, I wish I had a guide that showed me the exact steps to reach 100k a year in any job, and how much my life would be accelerated if I'd cut through that noise and just focused on those steps. We do not run ads or endorse sponsors because it is our mission to give back and share with you, the listener, knowledge gained from working with highly successful individuals and extensive research in management science, so that everyone has access to tools that can accelerate their income and give them the opportunity to step into wealth. In line with allowing us to achieve that mission, we ask that you think about, how did you end up on this podcast today? Maybe it was through finding it on YouTube or Spotify or word of mouth. So please help feed forward by subscribing to the podcast, and also share this podcast with another leader like you that you feel this podcast could really help out in helping them increase their personal income too. Let's get back to the show.
Okay, what is number 3 then? Put first things first. This habit is about prioritization, execution. Leaders manage their time and focus on what is important, not just urgent. So put first things first. So you've got your plan that you've started to create around what does the outcome start with. This is about now planning towards that outcome. Start with the end in mind. That's the end goal. We're not planning forward, we're planning backwards. So what are the first steps that you can do just to take some steps? Now, remember that putting first things first is real key here, because we don't want to be making the steps in the wrong direction. The last thing we want to be doing is climbing the ladder of success, but making sure that that ladder is at the right wall. If the ladder is not up the right wall, you may be hustling and hustling and hustling, which is what we see a lot of on YouTube and a lot of on Instagram, and a lot of, especially like the American stuff. I know there's a lot of American listeners, but guys, fucking hell, some of the stuff that American social media influencers put out, it's just like you're digging yourself into like a pit of things that don't really get you the outcome that you want. You're just following somebody because that's how they make their billion, yeah? Think about the first steps here. How do you just make the first million? How do you make your first 100K? How do you make your first 50K if you're not there yet? Yeah, this is what's important. There's content that needs context. The context around how to make 100 million, let me tell you now, because I've worked with companies that are achieving that, is different to how you do your first million. So make sure that you've got the right steps in the right place. The danger here is that you go and follow some YouTube influencer that is talking about a direction that isn't right for you. Yeah. For instance, how many times have you heard about balance is the most important thing? I mean, put it in on ChatGPT, like you see what I do a few times. And if this post actually came up about fucking balance, I'll be having a different conversation. But ChatGPT said it, so it must be true. No, this is just giving me content. Yeah. That you can find on the internet. Anyone can find it. It's no secret. Yeah. Context is key. If balance was on one of these 7 habits, I'd be going, guys, balance is good if you want balance in your life. For a young go-getter, yeah, when I've worked with clients in the past in growing and expanding their businesses, they're going, Lewis, I don't want balance. I want to work and grow my business to global domination. Yeah. So it's finding the right thing that's right for you. And this is why, if I could sit down with every one of you and figure it all out for you, I would, but I can't. So this is why I do podcasts and YouTube videos, so I can at least share this knowledge so it's not getting you on the wrong track. So think win-win. Number 4, think win-win. Leaders look for mutually beneficial solutions. They strive for outcomes where all parties feel they have gained something positive, promoting a cooperative and collaborative environment. So I was speaking to a team member about this. So one of my team members, so I've got lots of employees basically that I go there and I work with in my own businesses. How do we make sure this is a win for you and a win for the business? Yeah. And leaders can do this as well. So the definition of a leader is somebody who's leading someone to success. Yeah. The shit definition of leadership is somebody who's doing it for their own ego, right? For me in my businesses, I want to make sure that everyone is becoming an A player. So as long as everyone is becoming an A player, that is my definition of being a great leader, because I've helped them win. Not about me winning as well. But to make it a win-win, I need to also be able to pay these people's salaries. Yeah. And if these people aren't doing the right things, then I can't win, because there's no money in the business to expand it, pay their salaries, pay for their growth, invest in the people, in the A players, because growth costs money. Remember that one. Growth costs money. So it doesn't matter if you're doing this personally or for a business or whatever. Growth costs money. It is not free. You need to invest in higher value things. Yeah. I'm not going to give you the number right now. Listen to the previous podcasts and you'll understand the sort of figure that I invest in my team and my businesses so that they can start to expand and grow. People that are trying to cut back and save money, you're in the wrong game. Yeah. You're not going to grow. There's no way that you can expand in this world. You look at some of the top influencers, to hang around with them for a day, you're talking 50 grand. Yeah, just for one day, just to sit around with them and ask a lot of questions, right? So you've got to start somewhere, right? You've got to start somewhere. Growth costs money. But you've got to think about a win-win. For the people in my business, I want to know that what a win looks like for them, and they need to be clear on what a win looks like for our business. Yeah? If we can all achieve that win more often, then we're on the right path. If we ever step off that win to a win-lose or a lose-win or a lose-lose, then we've got to be open to conversations to figure it out. Yeah? And if you avoid the conversations or you're a dickhead in the situation, well, guess what? We're in lose-lose. So how often do you need to have conversations like this? If there are any business owners listening to this right now, just have a think about that. If you want any more information on it, then there's some previous podcasts, or you can reach out on LinkedIn for me to have some more discussions with you to put you in the right direction. So, number 5, seek first to understand, then be understood. What does this mean? So, communication is key for leaders. This habit emphasizes the importance of listening to others first before trying to be heard, which helps to build trust and respect. Take that bit off the end of it about trust and respect. It's not about building trust and respect. That's about you, right? That's something that ChatGPT is through on the fucking end of this. Ignore that part. The key here is that if you think about what is the way of communication, okay, so cover your ears and just watch something on TV or people from afar or something like that, and you can see them talking. Yeah, just watch their mouths. Which one of them is moving their mouth more than the other one? What's the body language of the other person? This is what it's about, right? How that message is being delivered is critical. Yeah, and it can be delivered in multiple ways. If you look at me and you're watching on YouTube right now, then you'll see that I'm moving my hands. I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking away when I'm going change to the different screens. That is all part of the message of communication that's coming across. If you are listening on Spotify, you just get my voice, yeah? But you don't just get my voice, you get the tonality of it as well. So there's plenty of things in communication. This is all going on to neuro-linguistic programming now, NLP, or psychology and influence. You know, I've got a big background in this. If you want more like this, then hit the like button and comment NLP in the comment box, and we can do more podcasts on this if that's what resonates with you. But just remember that if we want to be an influential leader, then we can't be the ones that are just talking all the time. So those people that are talking, when you watch them, if they're talking a higher percentage of the time than the other person, how much information do you think that other person is actually receiving? Is the talker actually even letting the other person talk? Because that's not communication, that's just telling. Now, when I work with a lot of people, then I make sure that I'm there to get them to be thinking. I want to probe the ideas around it. And a good topic on this is look into Socratic language. So Socrates, yeah, he was a master at this. Socratic language is about asking questions that allow people to find self-discovery. Okay? So when you're doing this, why would you want to be telling people when you can get them to find an understanding of their answers? And if they find it's true, So it comes from a meaning of their perspective of the world rather than your perspective of the world. So seek first to understand, then be understood. Because for all you know, they could be having a really shit day or a really shit time. And then you, from the perspective that you see, is why is this person just being an arsehole to me? Yeah? Well, it's not. You've got to understand first what they're seeing before you can start to get them to start to see what you're seeing. So, number 6, I haven't got 6 fingers there. 6, synergize. Effective leaders value the strengths and perspectives of their team members by fostering an inclusive environment. They harness diverse thoughts and ideas, leading to better problem solving and innovation. Now, look, as a business psychologist, organizational psychologist, diversity and inclusion is a hot topic. Yeah, it's a hot topic. Why? Well, there's a lot of HR issues around it where we've got to be inclusive. But from a perspective of company growth and scaling, right? If you're not inclusive and diverse with different mentalities, then you're closing off to a big perspective of the world. There are a lot of people out there and a lot of different opinions and different views. Now, if you just have your one way of doing it and you only recruit people with that one opinion, well, guess what? You kind of corner yourself into the corner of a room where you're just having a little party on your own and you're not really achieving the goal. If your outcome of the goal or life, or let's say it was to grow £100 million business, is to expand from 1 million to £100 million, there's a reason why you're not doing it. If you just get people that are just like you, then you'll always stay in that zone of not understanding what the bigger picture looks like. So there's a massive value by bringing different people, different opinion, different generations, different workplace experiences into your business as a leader. So when you're hiring as a leader, you want to make sure that you're finding these different people. If you're not in a management position and you are being a self-leader, a leader of your own thing, let's say you're a freelancer or whatever you may do, then having diverse learnings is also key as well. So what I mean by that is make sure that you're on track to the same learning. So, for instance, the people that follow this podcast want to be A players and achieve 100K. It wouldn't make sense to start going and learning how to do a yoga retreat and whilst you're trying to do 100K, unless, of course, the vehicle was yoga. But by being open-minded to some of the stuff as well from other people does allow a diverse input into it, as long as you've got the mindset of, I'm on track to that goal, but I'm going to learn a lot of stuff along the way that may be useful. Just don't go chasing down the rabbit hole with it. Accept it. The danger here is that you become so fixated that you know best, that you think you fucking know it all, when there's people out there that could teach you something. And that may not just come from what they're saying, but from how they're saying it. Yeah, their experience of the world. So just keep that in mind as well, that synergize, the sum of all the parts can work in different areas when you're becoming a leader. And finally, sharpen the sword, number 7. Leaders also focus on self-improvement and renewal. The habit involves taking care of one's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health, ensuring sustained effectiveness. Look, you listen to the A Players podcast. We are, 22 minutes in. You get it, right? You're either growing or dying. You can't stay still. The world is always growing around us, so you need to be growing. I've showed you me using ChatGPT today. I'm pretty open around it because the content is there. I want you guys to be learning this stuff so you're not wasting your time around it. The difference is the context is what's really important. Understanding ways of people have done it before, just that few steps ahead of you, or maybe quite far ahead of you, but I'm not talking millions of miles away, because that's not useful to anybody. Sharpen the saw from the right people. Sharpen the saw means learning and growing and having that right personality. So as long as you keep learning, and every time you get knocked down towards that goal you're trying to achieve, you will bounce back again. Resilience. Yeah? Sharpen the saw. What are the learnings from this? What are the learnings from this? Because if you've got to be reactive to it, back to step number 1, you could turn around and say, it's just not meant to be, or we tried that, it didn't work. If there's evidence of it working out there, you can do it too. The only thing that's getting in the way is you sharpening the saw. Sharpening the saw in your resilience, your mental your mental clarity, your what are the ones where they your health, your learning, your spiritual development. These are the things that are getting in the way from you being the sharpest person that you can be, an A player. So what's resonated with you today then? Have you got the stuff that you needed from the visuals on YouTube? Have you subscribed on there so you can get more of the visuals? Are you getting this from Spotify? Leave a comment of what you find. Either way, leave a comment on what you found useful today and what you would like to hear more of, because ultimately we need to sharpen the saw of how we get you to not just an A player, but to achieving the financial success that you deserve as well. So, hope you enjoyed today's show. I'll catch you on the next episode.